change and transition as the Lions usher in a new coach and an opportunity to get this one right. Good afternoon, everybody. Alongside my broadcasting partner, Nick Deziel. My name's McShan. Humbled and honored as always that you've chosen to stop by. Nick, so great to see you, and thanks for being here today.
No problem, boss. I wouldn't be anywhere else besides here.
Let's dive right into the news of the day, Bonnie, and the news that Ndamukong Suh finally decided to go with Jimmy Sexton, the famed coaching agent, as his new representative team.
I think it's about time that he made a decision. I think he can be a difference maker. Do you think that he can be a difference maker at defensive tackle making that much money?
Well, you look at what the market dictates for a defensive tackle. The Lions are probably going to pay him anywhere north of $80 to $85 million over the next 5 years. So that comes out to $20 million a season. The Lions, one of the things that Jim Schwartz said when he left the team was that their cap is top-heavy, meaning that they have a lot of stars at the top in Stafford, Kelvin, and now Suh with this contract. So you'll probably have a top-heavy salary cap again.
Now, do you think it's going to be a long-term deal or more of a short-term deal like Stafford's is? Because Stafford, they did more of a short-term deal for him so they could give him more money up front, so it wouldn't be on that cap. Do you think Suh gets something like that, or do you think they stay with a long-term deal so they can just wrap him up and get it done and over with?
Well, first of all, I think it's important that they get this done before the start of free agency so that they'll have more flexibility in terms of dollars to spend, but it doesn't sound like that'll happen. Reading reports and reading just some of the stuff from the local beat writers, which will kind of hinder what they can do in free agency coming up on Wednesday. But to answer your original question,
the cap did go up as well, so that's going to open up some room. Did they necessarily need to sign Suh to this deal?
Well, in order to have more cap flexibility, they have about $10 million of cap space.
From cutting Burleson and from cutting Dallas.
Yeah, they saved about $11.5 million, and when you look at it, it's about $10 million. And when you talk about all the things they want to do, upgrading the second wide receiver, getting another cornerback, all of it, plus signing their draft picks, it's all going to be eaten up quickly. That's the only money, the $10 million that they have to play with.
Now, like you said, his agent. It took a while to get his agent. Is that an issue? Is that raised red flags for the Detroit Lions?
Well, the red flag when I read the story first this afternoon was Jimmy Sexton, and his area of expertise is coaching agents. He's really not in the realm of negotiating players' contracts or high-profile player contracts. So it'll be an interesting dynamic, and we'll have to wait and see. I guess what I'm saying is that it's a wait-and-see approach because Jimmy Sexton hasn't really had...
Is it too much money for a defensive tackle? Like, a defensive tackle is making the bulk of your money on your defense. shouldn't it be elsewhere besides the defensive tackle?
Well, I mean, when in sports, if you're strong up the middle, and the Lions also have to renegotiate Nick Fairley's contract.
Which they also said they want Nick Fairley to be in voluntary workouts earlier on in camp, and they said that he needs to lose weight, which as...
Well, there's no question. He has to come back in better physical condition.
The man's a monster, regardless, but could you imagine if he was in shape? Imagine if he actually took it seriously. We did a tour of the Lions training facility, and the guy that was doing the tour was telling us that the strongest guy on the Lions defense is Nick Fairley. He throws up weights like you have no idea. He would be laughing in the weight room picking up these weights. If you only took it more seriously, what could this guy do? So at the end of the day, you're going to eventually have to pay him as well. So does that hinder them paying Nick Fairley, or does that open that up for a trade?
Well, what it does is makes Tom and the Lions job a lot more interesting, because a byproduct of being bad, as the Lions have been for so many years, is the fact that they have all of these high draft picks, but when it comes to payday, obviously you can't keep everybody. So it'll have to be a strategic move on their part, deciding on who they want to keep.
Okay, let's move on to Brandon Pettigrew. All of Detroit's whipping boy for the last couple of years. What people don't know is that this guy is a serious blocker in the run game. He is very, very good. One of the best tight ends at blocking out there.
One of the things about Brandon Pettigrew is, like you mentioned before, his propensity for inline blocking and his value in the run game, which is good. And I thought this season the Lions had one of the best running games they've ever had. That's why Reggie Bush campaigned so hard to keep Curtis Mockins their new running back coach. But getting back to Pettigrew, another point for him as well is that you want to make sure that you can cultivate your own talent and not have to filter the rest of your roster with somebody else's parts. So it's important for the Lions to get that done as well, so that they can keep a homegrown product.
Is he worth it? Especially, he doesn't catch very well. He catches okay, but he doesn't catch well. Now, is he going to be worth the money just to block? Do you want this guy just to block, or especially since you have Joseph Fourier there as well?
Well, Joseph Fourier was a nice surprise for the Lions. They haven't really had luck with their undrafted free agents or later round draft picks, so that was something the Lions stumbled upon. But in the case of Pettigrew, I think it's important that the Lions do find a way to sign him. I don't know if Brandon Pettigrew has a bigger value to somebody else, but I know that he has a large value to the Lions, and it's important for them.
Do you think Stafford's connection with Pettigrew was one of the bigger reasons why they're going to re-sign him as well? Just not because of his blocking, but since he's been there since Stafford was there?
Well, I mean, Stafford has to continue to cultivate the relationship with the entire offense, and certainly if they're able to maintain Pettigrew and bring him back, certainly that relationship will evolve, and it's a good relationship between Stafford and Pettigrew, and I think that he became a dependable target at the end of the season, because he did work hard on maintaining his catching ability and how he dedicated himself to his own craft.
Do you think the new coaching staff allows Pettigrew to kind of take that next step? That what the previous coaching staff thought when they originally drafted him?
Well, I mean, we'll see about Jim Caldwell and the type of man coach he'll be. We've had Lions coaches before that have won press conferences. I'm not sure that we've had Lions coaches before.
I don't know about you, but when I heard Jim Caldwell's press conference, I kind of wanted to strap up and go smack somebody. So the guy's obviously very good with words. The guy's obviously a very professional man, and the guy has these things called rings. And the Lions haven't had a coach like that in a long time.
I respect coaches for getting championship rings, but If you look at what Jim Caldwell did, he was a major part of cultivating the early part of Peyton Manning's career. I'll give you that. But when he left Baltimore, they were happy because he was reportedly going to get fired anyway. So
he also did not have Anquan Bolden. He also had an unhealthy Ray Rice. Ray Rice was banged up all entire year. Who was he throwing to? He also didn't have a Pitta, too, at tight end. So, with no offense, how can you really have an offense? And Jim Harbaugh come out and said that, John Harbaugh come out and said that, he wasn't getting fired. This is all nonsense. So kind of take it with a grain of salt. Who knows really what he meant? But, I can't really blame the guy for not really producing. He come in the year before and took over an offense and led them to a Super Bowl. He allowed Joe Flacco to get paid the amount of money that he's gotten paid.
Well, he did take the ashes of Cameron and sort of righted the ship, and their offense did play much better down the stretch before Cameron left. They were hovering around 17 or 24 points a game, and when Caldwell took over, they were up towards 29 and 30. So if he has weapons, I don't know how much weapons he'll have here besides Kelvin and Reggie Bush, depending on what they do in the draft, which is another topic in with itself. But talking about Caldwell himself, he's taking over another club, and he has to put his imprint on this team as quickly as he can because the Lions are expecting, anyway, in their own minds, to win right away.
So let's move to the draft. You mentioned the draft. Do you think Caldwell taking over, did they draft an offensive player? Do they draft an offensive player for this offense that you said is stagnant without Calvin Johnson and Reggie Bush? You take those two guys out, who are you throwing to? Chris Durham? Or do you think he relies more on the defensive side of it, as in the defensive backfield, which they've been struggling for years? You've been looking for a guy, and you've been drafting the guys like Bill Bentley and Jonte Green. Is that the guys you're going to roll with, or do they draft somebody up top in the defensive side of it?
Well, that's an interesting dynamic when you look at it, because the Lions are in a difficult and interesting spot because they do need that second line receiver, but they have drafted players like Bill Bentley and Jonte Green and Darius Slay. So the question for them is, do they rely on their players in-house, or do they go out on the open market and in the draft to try to fill those holes? So
do you think they move up? Do you think they move down? Everybody, Lions fans, let's move down. Every year it's the same thing. We want to move down in the draft. But do you think they move up? Do you think they move down? Or do you think they stay right at 10?
Assets for this particular team are the most important thing that they can have. And you listen to some of the talk and chatter around town. People want the Lions to possibly trade up to get a player like Sammy Watkins to put
Now, I heard there's serious consideration that they might move up to go get Sammy Watkins. I heard they really, really like this guy. And why not? The guy's a physical freak.
Yeah, I really, really want to be 6'4", but that's not going to happen either. So what the Lions have to do is maintain the assets that they have, because we've seen in the past front offices here are not trustworthy on what their draft picks are. So the Lions need to maintain their asset as they have, and a player like Mike Evans, Darquez Denard, Justin Gilbert on defense would also be solid options for the Lions as well. So
if they don't go Watkins, who do you think they go?
Well, they're not going Sammy Watkins. I think it's a pipe dream to think the Lions are one, going to trade up, or two, that Watkins is going to be there at 10. But if you're asking me who I think is going to be there for them, a player like Justin Gilbert,
which I heard is the best corner in a draft. If you don't know who Justin Gilbert is, look him up. The man is a physical freak. I heard Denard's more of a complete cornerback.
Well,
he can play press coverage, and I heard Gilbert kind of is Slade 2.0, just bigger. Does a Lions fan interested in a Slade 2.0?
Well, I think that when you look at the Lions, as we mentioned before, they're in an interesting spot because they have to make that decision. Do we go draft a wide receiver or do we go draft a quarterback? What do we do in free agency? Is a player like Hakeem Nicks an option, Emmanuel Sanders?
Can't stay healthy, Hakeem Nicks.
Well, that's true. I've got another player on the roster, Ryan Broyles, that can't do that either. The Lions have tried receiver after receiver. They certainly do need one, but I think the wiser investment is to stake on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to the draft.
Okay, so we haven't brought up this name yet. Clinton Dix. Clinton Dix. Do you go safety at 10 if you stay at 10?
I think it's a real...
Especially getting rid of Delmas, and you kind of need... Delmas and Glover Quinn are kind of the same kind of safeties. You can move them up in the box to stop the run. You don't really have that ball-hawking free safety. And the Lions never really had a strong safety, free safety under Jim Schwartz, his coaching staff. So now they're going back to the free safety and strong safety. Do you move Glover Quinn to your strong safety so you can move him up into the box? And then you have a guy that comes from Alabama, which is obviously a good school.
Football factory, certainly understated, yeah.
So do you think that he can be that ball hawking safety they're looking for? From everything that you've seen in the scouting combine, I don't see why he couldn't.
Well,
but at 10, do you want to go safety at 10? Usually it's more of the skilled positions, wide receiver. Especially even cornerback, you don't see that very high.
What the Lions have to do, especially on defense, is get more athletic. Their front four is fine, but their back seven, with the exception of DeAndre Levy, it's kind of a collection of parts. So do you look at possibly going the safety route or going the cornerback route? Whatever they do, they have to get more athletic on defense. So does that mean they go to free agency and grab a corner like Charles Tillman, who is on the better side of 30? Or do they go out into the draft and invest more resources and give up on the younger resources they already have?
Speaking of Charles Tillman, a little stat for anybody that's watching this video. And thank you for watching. Charles Tillman has 44 forced fumbles in his career. 44.
And most of them are against the Lions.
That man has a nose for the ball, and that is what the Lions are looking for.
Well, I mean, when Terrell Austin took over the defense, the number one thing he said it was going to emphasize is creating more turnovers. And the Lions, while they were ranked in the middle of the pack last year, when we both went to Lions games, we didn't see a lot of defensive difference-making plays, and that's one of the things the new coaching staff is going to emphasize.
Now, let's get to our rants. We have a couple of rants for our Detroit Lions fans out there, and we want you to let us know what you think. Let's start with you. You have something to say about our beloved Stafford.
Well, I think that it's just time for Stafford to mature into a better leader in terms of production on the field, in terms of leading the Lions to wins and developing the players around him to be better. That's why we talk so extensively today about maintaining a relationship with Pettigrew and that sort of thing. And so I think in year 6, it's time for Stafford to put his big boy pants on. I mean, for the last 3 years, he's thrown for over 5,000 yards. And as much as Jim Schwartz loved Matthew Stafford, he's one of the primary reasons that the Lions didn't get over the hump, certainly through the latter part of last season, where they faltered down the stretch and won only once out of their last 7 games and were out of the playoffs. So it's just time for Stafford to cultivate the leadership role and to cultivate the people and players around him to make the Lions a consistent playoff contender.
Decision making, also, under pressure as well. A lot of times last year when you needed him to make a play, he didn't. He did exactly the opposite.
Well, I think that when you look at Stafford,
mechanics as well. The mechanics.
Well, the mechanics I'm not so much worried about. But when you look at Stafford and the money he's making, it plays into both perception, reality, and the way he's viewed. I think we can both agree that Stafford's the best quarterback they've had here in a while.
Forever.
But
ever. Any Lions fans out there just went, yes, you're correct, ever. Scott Mitchell, are you going to put him on that list? The Lions have never had a quarterback.
Well, not the caliber of Stafford. Stafford's got all the talent in the world to be a successful quarterback, but it's just time to hone in on those skills, and that's precisely why they went away from Jim Schwartz and wanted an offensive coach, because the organization and their fans know that Stafford's the most important asset that this organization has, and if they're going to go anywhere, they have to get the most value and production out of Stafford himself.
Okay, so this is my rant. Now that you hit on the coaching staff and saying that this is why they're here to make sure they take care of Stafford, my rant is this. We were at Lions games last year, and any Lions fans that are out there, any football fans out there that were at Lions games last year, seeing the kind of coach that Jim Schwartz was, undisciplined, throwing his headset, carrying on, throwing flags at the wrong time. I was at last year's game against the Giants.
We both were, yeah.
And when he swore at the fans and carried on because they kneeled the ball to go into overtime with 23 seconds left, and you have a man named Calvin Johnson that you pay a lot of money for. So why don't you take a shot?
Up a third of their salary.
Just like they did against Dallas Cowboys. Take a shot. And the fans booed, he didn't like it, and he swore at them. So you think of it, the coaching staff is very, very important here.
When you look at the coaching staff, it's a totally different dynamic.
That's why I think this is the key to it. I think the key to it is that Jim Caldwell is going to be calm. Jim Caldwell is going to be collected. Jim Caldwell is going to make sure that there is no nonsense going on after the whistle with Fairley or jumping off sides, being disciplined. I think that's the key for the Lions going forward. I think that's the key for the Lions coaching staff, to not have the recurring nonsense that you have with Jim Schwartz and the headset throwing, because they need to move away from that. Maybe they got the talent now it's about the maturity. It's about seeing this, this team grow. You need to see them become more mature and be winners, not being aggressive and over-aggressive at times, and that's why you finish 7-9.
Well, it's all about going back to the mantra of teaching an old dog new tricks. I mean, the perception under Schwartz, as you said, they're an undisciplined team. And one of the things before Caldwell got here, people were commenting on is how his facial expressions never change, whether they're winning or losing. So we'll see if that even keeled demeanor works, and whether the new and younger, by the way, coaching staff, a lot of Jim Caldwell's assistants are younger, college-based assistants, with the exception, of course, of their two coordinators. So we'll see if the youthful energy and a fresh perspective and approach works better in 2014. I have an exciting announcement to make. I've decided to take on a new venture as the newest member of the Two-Man Advantage sports team. And now, here's Nick Deziel to tell you how you can stay connected with us.
Cool. So we have a little podcast ourselves. It's Two-Man Advantage Podcast. If you want to check us out on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Two-Man Advantage Podcast, or check us out on Twitter at 2MA Sports, and shoot us a message. Let us know what you think. Take a listen to the podcast. Tell us we're great. Tell us we're stupid. We love to hear from everybody, and we enjoy everybody listening and giving us their feedback. So thank you for listening today and watching today, and hopefully we'll have more great stories and great podcasts coming up for you soon. Thanks for watching.